Talk about having too much time on your hands. Oh my God, you making me cry, Stephan.
Hey everyone, Stephan here. I hope you're doing well. So, if you're a photographer, if you're a videographer, I can't even speak today. See, that's just what happens. But anyway, if you think of a career change and you think, you know what, I had it behind the camera, I want to be in front of the camera, I want to become a model, I have just the right man for you. And it's time to catch up. We haven't spoken for quite some time, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome, I always wanted to say that sort of in a Matrix voice, Mr. Gibson.
Hey, what's happening, everybody? What's going on, Stephan? How are you, my friend? Long time no see. How are you doing? We need to catch up. We have so much to catch up and talk about.
We certainly do. There was a time when we talked for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days, and we had a ton of laughs and fun.
Oh my God, Stephan! Those was like I got to tell you, I have to count Clubhouse for being a critical part of my mental health through that little brief period that where the world pretty much stopped for a vast amount of people, and interacting and just sharing space with other like-minded creative people got me through a really, really interesting period. And just some of the conversations we had will always stay on my mind for here, God, until I leave this good green earth. But just sharing those anecdotes and laughing and having those stories was amazing. You know, I don't think your audience knows that you were a dancer back in the day. That was the running joke. And no, we just had fun. It was good times, really, really good times.
You came up with this weird story that got wilder and wilder.
Oh my goodness. I can't remember verbatim that instance, because then it kind of just took a life of its own, and we just kind of ran with it. But somehow it came about that you were on tour. Was it with Lady Gaga or Janet Jackson? Or somehow or another, we threw that in the mix. And we had people actually asking you, and it just spurred from there. Like, did you see Stephan in this video? And then we just went it turned into that Bernie Sanders in the chair meme. And it was kind of like what we did with Stephan. Like, oh, he was just on tour. Did you not see him in that YouTube video? And it just kind of took a life of its own. And it was just hilarious. The people that just were so invested in finding out where you were dancing next and whose tour you had been.
Well, it became weirder and weirder. It started quite realistic, because we both know I do have a background in stage and theater. But then you started to first, just mention that. So, by the way, Stephan is not just a photographer. He actually was a professional singer, this and that. Then you add small little things, and it became bigger and bigger and bigger, to the point where the two moments that I just had to go on mute, and I was laughing so hard. I had like water coming out of my mouth all over the keyboard. It was just like, so you mentioned that I taught Mick Jagger how to dance on stage. Where I was just like, what the hell? And then you referenced a certain moment in Madonna's video, in some video in a hallway, where the guy
Justify My Love video. I remember that.
and then people went onto YouTube. They went into YouTube. They went frame by frame by frame to
Talk about having too much time on your hands. Oh my God, you making me cry, Stephan.
But then this is the funniest part. People go frame by frame by frame, then they come back and then they question you about it. I checked it. Were you the guy on the left that came out of the door? And it got wilder and wilder and wilder. And the rest then happened in the DMs, where you get the 100 laughing, crying emojis. And then you kind of collect yourself and you come back on mic and continue like nothing happened.
I mean, my God, the people that were just really invested, it was like they really cared less about your photography, your wonderful photography background. They were so dead insist on trying to figure out what video you were in and where you were doing those high kicks. It was insane. It was so funny. Oh my gosh, Stephan, you got me crying over here. Oh, wow. Those were good times.
It was good times. And you know, it's these sort of moments. We always talk in this industry about, you know, clients and work and this and that and the other. The funny thing is, for me, it's these sort of moments which actually create friendships. It's these sort of moments when, you know, next time I'm in LA, there is no way you and I wouldn't go and have a drink. There's just
definitely
no way. If you would come to Brisbane, Australia, there's just no way I wouldn't pick you up from the airport. And that has nothing to do with the work that we do or that we are in the same industry or anything. It's these sort of moments when human to human interaction happens. And these sort of little anecdotes, these little, or in this case, not so little stories, they create that connection that will last, right? And
definitely, I have to agree with you. Definitely.
Don't you think in business it's the same? When you are in a production, in your field or in my field, if you treat people like that, then they will always come back.
You know, I'm old school, Stephan. So that's usually how I get work. For me, that's how I connect with people, and that's pretty much how I gain employment. A lot of my jobs and what I do here is based on my networking and me just connecting with people and being authentic to the creative process that they present. And then whatever I can contribute to that space, a conversation happens. And that's a lot of times, 80% of the time is how I get work here. So I rely on that connection a lot with people, especially in our industry, dealing with photographers, casting directors, models, clients, all of that encompasses that. It's kind of for me, I get the most out of it when I have a connection to the person and to the project, because I don't ever like to feel like I'm just going to work.
So if you meet someone in the elevator and you got 30 seconds, how do you introduce yourself? What's your elevator pitch?
Oh God, I am so bad with that. I really am. It's to explain what I do. So in a nutshell, professionally, what I get paid to do by 9 to 5, I work for an event production company. We set up and handle breakdown for like red carpet events like the Oscars, the Grammys, different, whenever some movie has a premiere party, we set up, break down that whole bit. That's what my 9 to 5 is. I deal with production, logistics, clients, all of that. Netflix, Hulu, Paramount Plus, those guys, that part. But my passion is connected to fashion. Oh my God, I just rhymed that and was not even trying to.
Yeah, poet didn't know it.
No, poet and did not know it. I'm talking about that.
Yeah.
So in that I'm a runway coordinator and a model developer, model coach. I like to use the term model development. I'm more on the back end side of what you would see, the processing going into a fashion show. I work with designers. I help them cast for their shows. I help them create their show. I help them present their show, from everything from models to casting models to getting the models trained if they are inexperienced, or if they are experienced, just kind of getting them in the process of the backstage process of a fashion show, getting them from casting to backstage and everything that goes on, all the creative chaos that goes on backstage. That's one side. Also, because I've been doing this for a long time, I've started to work in model development, preparing models just to get out into the working world of modeling. I pretty much go through a model basic 101 course where I kind of get models trained is runway, photography, presence, how to present themselves at a casting, everything to get them prepared to get out and get a job. That's pretty much where I start and stop with them. Anything past that is due to them taking my lessons seriously and their talent as a model and balling it up and shooting off into success. And I've had a lot of successes there. I enjoy being in the background. I enjoy being the force behind a project or a model from start to finish. If that's an elevator pitch. I know that probably went over 60 seconds, but
that elevator went into the 120th story. But here's the thing. Even though I wanted to get out at level 30, I went all the way with you to 100 and to the penthouse because it was interesting. Okay. So there you go. And we ended up in the penthouse where I didn't have a key for it and you opened it for me. So there you go. Perfect.
Well, there we go. I like the way that you put that because it's something. I'm not one of the best people at public speaking and introducing myself. I'm more of you got to step back and watch me at work. And then you get the whole thing.
Personality that comes through. The way you portrayed yourself, and that's the way I know you, is you're all about their success, not yours.
I'm glad that you said that because what I teach comes from a knowledge standpoint of that particular time period in modeling, where you had to know how to find your light, how you had to know how to be on point with your turns, how you had to know how to bring a presence to a runway. Like nowadays, it's totally different. Like they just really want you to look good and have a fierce, strong walk. And then your social media and all that other stuff plays into it. But the point that I'm making is it's a constant thread of that education that stays, a talent that is constant there, no matter what technology changes, what technology advances, where we are in the scope of creatives, photography, modeling, all of that in the fashion industry. Wherever the technology and all of that takes us, there's still a constant of having talent. And that's what I try to impart on my students and on my clients. This fashion career has taken me wonderful places and allowed me to connect with many amazing people. But at the same time, the benefit for me is to see people who really want to pursue this in this industry that allow me to get in front of them and listen to what I got to say and just ramble on, actually take it and succeed in it. I can never poke my chest out and be so full of myself to say, oh, I've done all this and blah, 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 blah. Because that is very well true. But there is also saying on that same token of truth, there's so much yet that I've yet to experience and yet to do within this industry. So I'm still a humble student. I mean, there could be somebody else doing just the same thing that I'm doing. They could say, hey, and poke their chest out and rattle off all their accomplishments and be rightfully so. Hey, that's you. I've learned in this industry and just from life experience itself, all of that doesn't matter at the end of the day. It really does not. I think what matters to me is the impact that I have on people. And that's the mark that I truly want to leave behind in this legacy before I leave this good green earth. That's what's most important to me. The accolades, those would be an accoutrement, so to speak, to the design that is my life. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. I've photographed thousands of faces, but every new face is a new person with a new story, with new small little things that are different. And even though I might use a light that I've used hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times before, it will still produce a different picture because I'm talking to a different person. And that becomes clear the moment they get out of their car and walk into my studio. The way they ask for where the bathrooms are and what they talk to the makeup artist. In your case, how they say hello, how they bind their shoes, whatever. So no matter our accolades, at the end of the day, we're talking to human beings. And that human being needs their own space to grow. And if we are strong enough to put ourselves behind, we can actually give them a good amount of wind and help them. Then it's up to them if they want to walk. We can open the door for them. They have to walk through it.
I agree. I definitely agree. I totally wholeheartedly agree. And I think that's the reward that comes from, I'm sure it comes from you, from probably just being a dad. You know, you get that greatest reward of seeing something that you imparted on your children, and then that light bulb goes bing, and you see it, and you see yourself and your education through them in their actions. And it's just like I don't know, it's just this rewarding thing. And to be quite honest, I've tried to abandon this industry for so long, but it just keeps coming back to me because there's other things that I want to do while I'm out here in Los Angeles with my time out here. But fashion and teaching and cultivating models and just creating a space for them to really get a grassroots education on what they are to expect in the industry. Because a lot of times they are, you know, from dealing with models, a lot of times if you're just good, you're just thrown into this. And those are the ones that actually really, really succeed because they don't need any guidance. They're just freaks of nature. Some people can just get in front of a camera and click, click, click. We got the shot. But there are some people that need help getting there. You know, I'm just fortunate enough to be able to impart what I've learned and help a model get to where they want to get in this industry. So that's rewarding for me. So
if I want to become the next, what is it called? The next top model?
You already are, Stephan. What are you talking about? Perfect.
That was the answer I was waiting for. You follow the script perfectly, just like we agreed on in the DMs. You just the way, but I have to say, like a feather, you just smoothly just put it right in the right moment. You just flew it in there, like professional. What can I say? Professional. Did you know that 79.2% of people watching these videos don't like, don't comment, don't subscribe, don't follow? Fair point, I made those numbers up. But you could do these things because they cost you nothing, right? Just, click the little like. The algorithm loves it. Well, there you go. I said it. I never say these things, but I said it now. So, while I interrupted anyway, it's time to say thank you to Retouch for Me for helping me create these conversations. And if you've seen one of those conversations before, you know exactly what's coming. I always say the same thing. I never feature or showcase a product if I don't believe in it, and even more so if I don't use it. And these plugins, I found them, I purchased them with my hard-earned money. Yes, indeed. And I just use them on a daily basis. And then I got in contact with them, and they're so gracious to help me with these episodes. But what you should do before we go back to Kendrick and the crazy world of modeling and development, you should go and have a look in the description below. You will find 2 links. One to a video where I show you exactly how I use those Retouch for Me plugins and how incredible easy it is to produce high-end retouches in no time at all. And the second link will help you to download the demo. Never ever buy anything unless you have tried it yourself, and I'm pretty sure you're gonna love it. And if you then want to get those plugins, use the same link and save some money. So let's add some more music to that conversation and jump back in. So if I would still be 20 and I want to get into the modeling industry, in one sentence, shall I become an influencer first because that will open all the doors without knowing what I'm doing? Or do I go for the catwalk, which means I have to be 172 as a female or 174 centimeters tall? Oh shit, I'm short. So now what do I do? Or shall I just give up and become an accountant and actually make some serious money?
Well, I mean, I want to try to answer that in one sentence, but I have to be realistic and ask you. I'm going to ask you, like I ask every model, what type of model do you want to be? Where do you see your career? Do you want to be in Playpen magazine? Do you want to be on a billboard in Times Square? That kind of determines which lane you want to go in. And once the model because it's not just as simply as, oh, I want to be a model. How do I start? It's what kind of model do you want to be? Because modeling is a very vast arena that you can play in. And if you have your own individual thing where, depending on how you work that, you can get in and market that and make money. So my next question is, what type of modeling do you want to be? And they usually respond with, what do you mean by that? And then I follow up with, do you want to do sports modeling? Do you want to do high fashion modeling? Do you want to do video modeling? Do you want to do editorial modeling? Do you want to be a brand ambassador? It's so many things that's in that lane. And then that kind of gets them to whittle it down until more realistic. I ask those questions because I want them to break it down into their mind as something that's a realistic, obtainable goal. Because modeling, in the way that most people see it when it's presented to me, is this big flashy clothes and parties and runways and fashion shows. And it's like, yeah, that's one microcosm part of it, but it's a whole spectrum that you have to go through to get there. And once I break that down and try to see where they are with that, that usually helps me gauge their level of seriousness to take them on as a client. And then from there, once they have that nailed down and then I put them through the paces, I'm glad that you and I are having this conversation, because now our listeners and our viewers get to get it from a perspective of photographer, model coach, caster, developer, or whatever you want to call it. They see it from two very interesting perspective. But I pretty much get them prepared to get in front of a camera and get in front of people like you. You'd be surprised at how many people look good but take a bad picture. You'd be surprised. Well, you wouldn't be surprised, but our viewers, as I'm talking to them, and you guys, Stephan is nodding because he's like, photographers get off on this kind of talk. Let me just tell you right now, like, they get so jazzed. It's like, and I love having these conversations because you just see their eyes light up like, Christmas. But, you'd be surprised at a lot of photographers that get good looking models and they're just dead in front of the camera. Or that that person that's trained themselves into modeling in their room with their own little selfie light and don't know how to get in front of Stephan and how to find their light in the picture. Some people don't know how to move. Like, it's just a lot of things that go into a model's composition to get them to be top level to where they're. My goal is to teach models how to go out and get jobs. There's no such thing as a supermodel. All of that is done. It's a working model. We need you to go out and get work because ultimately that's what you want to do as a model. You need to be able to make a living to sustain a life that you're trying to live as a model in this industry. So that's pretty much what I do. I prepare everybody to get out and get in front of Stephan and work the camera, work their angles. If they're going to get out and be a runway model. That's a component because every model does not need to be a runway model. It's some models that's just not their ministry. It's just not what they do. But sometimes you might get called upon to have to walk up and down a catwalk every now and again. So I just kind of prepare them for the paces of going out and getting work, getting booked for a job, landing that casting, going on that go-see, getting that job, getting that callback. I prepare models for the real working world, and the good and the bad. It's the good and the bad. I prepare them just as much as for the no's as I prepare them for the yeses.
Sounds like in the good old days going to musical theater auditions, where you for every yes you got at least 25 no's beforehand, and every single no will prepare you for that one performance where you get the yes, because if you would not get those no's, then you wouldn't be good enough for that moment when you get the yes. The most important thing that you said, I believe, which applies to everything, not just modeling, is do your bloody homework.
Yes, and I'm sitting here nodding my head because you actually bring up a good point that I would be totally remiss on this platform if I didn't bring up for anybody that's out there that's listening to us old birds talk. But to your credit, to your point, one thing that I always teach that is like cardinal rule for me for anyone that wants to get into this industry as a model: don't just have anybody. If you know your cousin or somebody that takes pictures, or your boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend got a Polaroid, find a photographer. Model marriage is so key. It's just like, I can't even describe how important finding the right photographer is to a model's career. I teach this because a good model can take a photographer's career into orbit, and a good photographer can do the same thing for a model. They can launch each other's careers into the stratosphere. So finding one is so key. Not everyone is going to know how to shoot you down below on your good angle or up top where you find your light. Like, it's just a marriage that has to come into place if you want to succeed in this industry as a model. Do your research. Don't just grab any photographer that just takes good pictures. You got to kiss a couple of frogs to get a good prince. You got to crack a couple of eggs to make an omelet. If you have to run through a couple of photographers till you find the one that clicks, but you have to find the right one. That's the best advice I could give any aspiring model that's listening to us chat on this platform.
I think these days it's called collaboration. Do you want to collab?
A collab.
A collab. Yes.
A collab.
Collab. Now, talking about collabs, we collabed to talk for 10, 15 minutes. We now talked for 51 minutes.
Well, I told you I came as a loaded weapon, Stephan. We have not talked in a long time.
I don't want to know from another guy that he has a loaded weapon. I like you, but I don't like you that much.
I didn't mean it like that.
This is for TikTok. This here is YouTube. The other thing is conversation for TikTok. For now, all I can say is, if you want to find out more about this dude who has indeed some style, if you wonder what his Instagram title is, put that together, or just look in the description below. There you will find it. Click on it, go over and say hello, do the likes and, all those beautiful things that we love. And all I can say is, man, I wish I was in that Madonna video. I tell you, I wish.
Stop. Oh my gosh, you are so funny. Stop. You still have Mick Jagger, so that that'll carry with you for days on end.
But it all started with Gaga.
Yeah.
It all started.
It always starts with Gaga.
It starts and ends with Gaga. So I say Gaga, and thank you so much for your time. We'll do this again. I have a feeling.
Yes, definitely.
I feel it. I feel it in my bones in.
Yes, definitely. I look forward to it.
All right, awesome. And for everyone that is still here, still on YouTube, still out there, still watching, go out and create something awesome.
Signing off.